Hey everybody, today is Wednesday, June 2nd, and this is episode 7 of the Bracy Sports Show. Like, comment, and subscribe, and push that bell so you don't miss another show. Please support this podcast by following the link in the description or by clicking support on Anchor. Listen to audio only versions on Spotify and Apple Podcasts by searching my name, Romello Bracy. The social question of the day today is: do you see anybody stopping the Nets in the Eastern Conference? And to be honest with you, I don't. It's hard to see right now the way they're rolling as a team. I understand they did play Boston, but it gave them a chance to really all play together. And as you can see, they didn't need much time to build chemistry. There are three players who can score the basketball. Harden is going to put up big numbers and rebounds and mostly assists. He's getting averaging more assists with the Nets than he ever has in his entire career. But this Buck series, I think, is really going to be the test for them. I think they're the best match for the Nets in the East, and they have the best overall team to go ahead and combat that. They're the two best offensives headed into this series in the NBA. So I think combined they average about 240 points per game. So I think this one is going to come down to who can get the most stops. And if you ask me, I think it's going to be the Bucks. I think the Bucks actually could win that series, but that's pretty much where I see any stoppage if there's going to be any of the Nets advancing to the NBA Finals. So I think if they beat the Bucks, they can probably get past the Sixers, just because the Bucks have more experience and Embiid is hurt right now. So um, if they beat the Bucks, I think they're a shoe-in for the finals. And moving on to this day in sports, on June 2nd in 2015, the Panthers did sign quarterback Cam Newton to a 5-year, $103 million contract extension in 2015. And right after he signed the extension, he was named the 2015 NFL MVP that season and 2015 First Team All Pro. And again, that was the first season following the contract after becoming the only player in NFL history with 30 plus passing touchdowns when he had 35 and 10 plus rushing touchdowns in a single season. And that's just an insane stat to see. Even the most mobile quarterbacks now, like Lamar Jackson, you're not seeing 10 plus rushing touchdowns and 35 passing touchdowns. You know, it's hard to really appreciate how good Cam was that season just because the way that team ended up folding in the Super Bowl. But that season was truly incredible for Cam Newton, and his 70 rushing touchdowns are the most all time by a quarterback. And in second is actually Steve Young with 43. So 27 rushing TDs off, not too close. And he was drafted, of course, first overall in the 2011 draft by the Panthers. So moving right into last night's action, we're going to start with Brooklyn against the Boston Celtics. They end up finishing the series at home 4-1 in a 123-109 victory. The Celtics again played their third straight game without Kemba Walker or Robert Williams, and Jason Tatum finished with 32 points and 9 rebounds. So Jason Tatum was getting his. There's no one to help him out there, and I do kind of feel bad for this team. I think they could have gone much deeper or not deeper, just because they drew the Nets first round. But I think they could have given this series a chance if they did have a fully healthy team with Jaylen Brown and Kemba Walker. But we'll see what this team can bring next year. But the Nets will advance to play Milwaukee, and Harden did finish this game with 34 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. Kyrie finished with 25, and KD with 24. And like I said, they will host the Bucks game 1 on Saturday. Moving on to Denver versus Portland. Denver ends up winning this one 147-140 in double overtime, and this was the best game of the playoffs so far. Denver now leads the series 3-2, but Damian Lillard had one of the most historic playoff performances of all time. With his 55 points, it's a franchise playoff record, and he broke Klay Thompson's record for most threes in a playoff game with now 12. He scored 17 of Portland's 19 overall in the 2 overtime periods. But just like the games in the past, Denver ends up winning this game ultimately because Nurkic fouls out of the game, and Covington ends up having to guard Jokic down the stretch, and that's just a mismatch all day. At the end of the fourth quarter, heading into that first overtime, they just kept dishing it to Jokic and had Covington on him. That's Jokic is a skilled offensive player, so easy post move, and that's an easy bucket for him. And Dame would just answer with threes of his own, but the Trailblazers had this game in hand. Covington missed a layup with 41 seconds left to go, and McCollum stepped out of bounds with 9 seconds left while they were down by 3. So that really just sealed things up for Portland. But Denver surprises me again. They are leading the series 3-2. I still think Portland does come back and ultimately win this one. I think they've shown that they're the better team and capable of winning. But the Joker finishes with 38 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists, just 1 assist shy from his normal triple doubles that he averages. And Monty Morris with 28 points off the bench. In these Nuggets victories, they're always having, a contributor come out of nowhere, whether it be Austin Rivers, whether it be Monte Morris, whether it be, Michael Porter Jr. in this case, who finished with 26 points after, a 3-point performance the game before. So Jokic gets some help, and they end up getting that victory, and now it's 3-2 headed back to Portland, and we'll see how that one goes. And the surprise of the night is a 30-point victory from the Phoenix Suns over the Los Angeles Lakers. And Phoenix now leads the series 3-2. They're in the driver's seat. Hopefully they'll be able to go back to LA for Game 6 and close it out, because I think if it goes to Game 7, the Lakers might close it out. But this Lakers team looks terrible. They shot 34% from the field, and they lost that second quarter 32-10. LeBron looks defeated out there and doesn't even look like he wants to play basketball. I think he headed into the locker room with about 5 minutes left. So, yeah, LeBron with more of his dramatic antics, and it doesn't look to be helping the team. Kuzma was the only other Laker in double figures with 15 points. And Dennis Schroeder had a historically bad playoff game. I think I scored as many playoff points as Dennis Schroeder did today, or last night. He ends up with 0 points and goes 0 for 9 from the field and 0 for 4 from 3. That just should not be happening to you when you're the second best scorer on the team when Anthony Davis is out. This dude has really let him down. Andre Drummond didn't do anything. Like I said, Kuzma was the only other one in double figures, so this team offensively is really just struggling. On the other hand, though, Phoenix, clamped up the Lakers. You got to give it to them. They're playing good defense. Devin Booker ends up dropping 18 points in the first quarter and finishing with 30. So the Suns are really in the driver's seat. I hope they can close out the series in Game 6. I'm here in Arizona, so I know Phoenix is going crazy. And just for the state, I'd love to see it, the Suns win this one. I think everybody's rooting for the Suns, but nobody actually thought they would be able to pull through. So looking toward the matchups for tonight, we actually have 4 games, so a pretty nice lineup for tonight. We've got the Wizards and 76ers in Game 5, where the Sixers are leading 3-1. No Joel Embiid again, but Tobias Harris is averaging 24 points and 10 rebounds in this series. So Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons, hopefully they'll be enough to go ahead and get the Sixers another win. But if you're the Sixers, do you think about losing another one? But if you lose another one, maybe Embiid can get a little bit more rest. We'll see how that game. That's probably the least interesting game of the schedule, but we've got Game 5 of Knicks-Hawks as well. We'll see if the Knicks can rebound after losing 2 in a row, or if the Hawks will close it out at home. We've got the Grizzlies and Jazz, where the series is at 3-1. I do see the Jazz closing this one out and moving on to the next round. But the Grizzlies showed great grit and really just the same Grizzly basketball from when Gasol and Conley were there, and Zach Randolph. They play physical. They will, they never give up, and they're a tough team. So shout out to the Grizzlies for giving the Jazz all they can handle this entire series. And then the game of the night, we have the Clippers going up against the Mavericks. You already know how I'm feeling. Give me the Clippers moving on to the next round. Luka averaging 38. I don't see him putting up 19 points like he did last game. So we'll see if they'll have a second option ready to put up points. But give me the Clippers in that one, winning their third straight game. And getting right into some NFL news, there's really not too much. I wanted to point out that Delaney Walker is working out for the 49ers. That's where he started his career, and I'd love to have Delaney back in the Bay. I think him and Kittle would be a great combination. He would be, the fifth option at that point. So I think he could really just relax and, enjoy his time in San Francisco. So I will be doing predictions for every NFL team moving forward on every episode, starting with the AFC North and the Baltimore Ravens here. I'm just going to make some game by game predictions, and we'll see how accurate they are by the end of the season. But I'm starting with the Ravens here, and their roster is pretty loaded actually. On offense, they have Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown, they have J.K. Dobbins, they have Gus Edwards, and Patrick Ricard, one of the best fullbacks in the game. I just bring that up because their running game is so crucial to what they do. Lamar is not only a passer, but he's also, the number one, if not the number two option in the running game as well. So I see them taking a step forward in the passing game with Rashad Bateman, a rookie that they got in the first round for Minnesota, as well as Tylan Wallace, who they drafted out of Oklahoma State. So I think as an offense, they step forward with Mark Andrews as well. In the passing game and the running game, I think they'll be a lot more balanced. Of course, more run heavy just because that's the scheme you want to run with Lamar Jackson. You have to use his abilities. But I really like the Ravens on offense, and I like them on defense as well with Calais Campbell, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters on the perimeter, and they still have Jimmy Smith, he's a proven veteran at this point, and having him as your third corner isn't too bad. So, not to mention Patrick Queen in the middle, who will be, growing in his second year as a pro. And I liked him quite a bit. Him and Devin White are pretty comparable, but I think Patrick Queen has a big year as well. So let's start with week one here. They play the Las Vegas Raiders, and this one is going to be away, so it's going to be in Las Vegas. It's going to be the first Monday Night Football game, and I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this one, start the season off 1-0, and really I don't think there's too much to talk about. The Raiders made interesting moves in the offseason. I don't really know what this team is going to look like, but I know their defense did not get much better, so even if the Raiders put up some points, I don't think they'll be able to stop the Ravens offense. I will take the Ravens in this one. And week two, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is a home game for the Ravens. So the Chiefs and Ravens, I feel like in the past couple of seasons have just had some battles, and I'm pretty sure Mahomes has Lamar's number, but this year I'm going to take Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens to go ahead and beat Kansas City at home week two and really make a statement to the NFL. So I think it's going to be a shootout, but I think the Ravens are going to be able to make enough stops. And like I said, the Ravens offense has improved from last year. Kansas City's defense hasn't improved too much, so I'll take the Ravens again, starting the season off 2-0, and definitely we'll start it off 3-0 with a game in Detroit against the Lions, who are definitely rebuilding as a defense, as an offense. Just nothing really on paper that scares you. So 3-0 there to start for the Ravens. In week four, they are going to play away at Denver. And Denver is one of the more interesting teams moving forward, just because you don't know if they're going to sign Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be the quarterback for this team. Is it going to be Teddy Bridgewater? Is it going to be Drew Lock? Well, I'm just going to judge as if they don't get Aaron Rodgers. And either way, I think the Broncos are going to take a step forward. They're a good team. They have a really nice roster on defense, some weapons on offense. And Drew Lock, to be honest with you, is not too bad. So whether it's Drew Lock, whether it's Teddy Bridgewater, I think it's a competitive game. But again, I think the Ravens do overcome the Broncos in week four. So they are starting the season off 4-0, and I think in week five is when they catch their first L against the Indianapolis Colts at home. Another Monday night game for the Ravens, but the Indianapolis Colts are going to come out and be tough this year. I think they're gonna run the ball and play defense, and I think that's the recipe for success. Limit Carson Wentz to about 20 to 25 throws a game, and I think this Colts team can be pretty successful. So I'm going to take the Colts in week five. And in week six, they play the Chargers, and the Chargers I actually like quite a bit this season. You've got Justin Herbert into his second year. You've got Keenan Allen still there. You've got Mike Williams still there, and they have Jared Cook as well. So their offense is pretty loaded. Their defense is nice. Derwin James and Joey Bosa should be getting back to being healthy. I'm going to take the Chargers beating the Ravens in Week 6 as well. So we've got them at 4-2, 6 weeks into the season of this, 17-week season for the first time this year. And in Week 7, they play the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to be much improved with Joe Burrow and a better offensive line, as well as adding Jamar Chase. But they still have things to work on defense. And they play in one of the best divisions in football with the Ravens and the Browns and the Steelers. So, the poor Bengals, I think they do better than last year, but, just not enough in the division. So I'll take the Ravens in that one. They have a Week 8 bye, and in Week 9, they come back playing the Minnesota Vikings at home. And the Minnesota Vikings, I think, are a pretty solid team. I think they can surprise you in a couple ways. I like Justin Jefferson against the Ravens corners, Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters, just because Marcus Peters is going to take a chance or two, and I think Justin Jefferson is the type of receiver that those type of really physical corners don't want to face, just because I think he can really get him after the catch and he can beat him off the line. So with that being said, I'm still going to take the Ravens over the Vikings. I just don't think the Vikings offer too much defensively. They did sign Patrick Peterson, but the interior of the defensive line that used to be their strength, I just don't think is there anymore. I think Daniil Hunter will be coming back, but no real run stopper there. I think the Ravens could run all over the Vikings, so I will take them there. And we've got the Ravens at 6-2 through Week 9. So heading into Week 10, they're playing the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. And the Dolphins are one of the most questionable teams heading into the 2021 season. I don't know if Tua takes that next step or if they regress, just because they did end up having a pretty good year last year, and now they do add pieces. They should be a better team overall, but we'll see. I'm taking the Ravens on Thursday night to beat the Dolphins and advance to 8-2 or 7-2 on the season, excuse me. And in Week 11 they'll play Chicago. At this point, Justin Fields is probably going to be starting for them. You don't want to see the Ravens as a rookie, so I don't think the Bears end up beating them there. I will take the Ravens in that one as well. And in Week 12, they play the Browns. This is going to be such a good matchup. And this division is going to be just an outright battle. And I think the schedulers did this on purpose. Like all of the division games are after Week 11. So they've got the Browns in Week 12. They play them again in Week 14. But in Week 12 at home, I'm going to take the Ravens to win that one. 31-28 probably, something really close. These two teams are really evenly matched, and the Browns arguably have the best roster in the NFL. So in this first Sunday night matchup, I will take the Ravens, and that will put them at 9-2 on the season. Heading into Week 13, where they play the Steelers, it is away. The Steelers have Ben returning. They have Claypool. Now they have Najee Harris. If they can get the offensive line to run block well, I like the Steelers team a lot more than last year. But I'm going to take the Ravens to beat them in Week 13. And in Week 14, when the Ravens have to go to Cleveland, I will take the Browns to win that one. So now we have 3 total losses for the Ravens. At Week 14, though, that's not too bad. We've got them at 10-3 heading into Green Bay. And like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and judge like the rosters are right now. So Green Bay currently does have Aaron Rodgers, who might not be at OTAs, but I'm just going to predict the game as if he's playing. And if he does play, I think Green Bay does get that victory. I feel like they match up well against them. Devontae Adams should be able to just torch that Ravens secondary, just because speed isn't really their thing. And I think Devontae Adams might be able to route him up. So I will take the Packers in Week 15. And Week 16, when they play the Bengals, I'll definitely take the Ravens again there. But Week 17 is a big game for them. They've got the Rams. This is probably going to be a big game for both of them. and I'm gonna take the Rams in that one. I think the Rams are gonna take a pretty nice step forward, but I think the one thing that people don't think about when you talk about the Rams is their receiving core. I like Robert Woods and I love Cooper Kupp, but those guys aren't really stretch the field type of guys, and Van Jefferson isn't really that type of guy either. So I wonder who's going to stretch the field for them. They do have Deshaun Jackson. Um, he's pretty old at this point, though, so I don't think he's going to be an every down type of player. But we'll see what happens moving forward. And I think at week 18, the last game against the Steelers, they actually end up losing that one as well. So losing 3 of their last 4, but overall not a bad season. Finishing, you know, is it 12-5? Yeah, it'd be 12-5. So I've got the Ravens going 12-5 in this 2021 season, and that's not too bad. Of course, that's going to be a playoff team, and probably a top 3 seed. So I look forward to scheduling out the AFC North moving forward. It's definitely one of the better divisions in football, and we'll see how accurate my predictions are moving forward. But that's going to do it for today's show. And thank you guys for listening to the Rome Bracy Sports Show. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Take